Well, a very warm good afternoon and a massive welcome back to the LPGA Tour of Korea live from Jeju. This is the opening event of the 2023 season, the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open, round 2 on this Friday. A mostly sunny set of skies for us today, a slight improvement over that from yesterday, though the wind has picked up more to its traditional self, right around 3.5 meters per second at the moment out of the west. That's around 13 kilometers per hour, 15 degrees. It is also steadily warmer as we take an aerial look above the course and a look down the right-hand side of your screen. If you missed our opener yesterday, you'll notice the graphics have been refreshed ahead of the new year, and the name on top of that leaderboard is the now sophomore EA1, who is in the clubhouse with a round of 70 today. She went 7 under in the opening round, sat in one back of the lead after 18 holes of play. Not quite as low scoring today, having played significantly earlier in the day, teeing off at 8:25 a.m. local time, but she did card a round of 70, and she is the leader at the minute by 4 strokes. We will head over to the par 3. Tee shot over the water and well short on this green. You can get a really good view of not only the slopes, the front and the back, but how difficult of a pin placement it is today in the second round with the flag perfectly crested on the hill. It takes some kind of shot to be able to record that ace, rolling it all the way back and in. The action coming thick and fast from the tee blocks to the green. A left to right breaking putt. Just a little bit of a tap to get it started, right to left rather. And it is an uneventful one, as it should have been from that relatively close proximity, and she will strut off the green in style. Just the slightest of taps to get it started. A long crescent shape ball path for the Chinese invitee to this tournament, Li Suying, currently in a tie for second position, 69 in round 1. She is 2 under for the day thus far. She and yesterday's clubhouse leader, Chung So-yi, in that runner position at the moment, with the latter having a really difficult start to her round 3 over through just 4 opening holes. Pak Jeong, she is the first 4 holes of her day up 2 spots into a tie for third position, 1 under for the round, 4 under for the tournament thus far. A return for Li Suying. Does the full 360 around the hole and stays out. That would have brought her within 3, but she'll have to settle for a par. Suji even for the tournament. This is her tee shot at 6. Missing the fairway altogether, making a beeline towards the rough, and the volunteer sitting close by, just looking it slightly. At the moment, we only have 25 players at even or lower. The course is playing exceptionally difficult. We had a withdrawal yesterday, mid-round. It was Sun Joo Hee who called it quits after 15 holes when she had been +7. Icheon-2 decided before the round started this morning that she wasn't going to progress, and Chanana, unfortunate to see the WD beside her name in the first event of the season. She had struggled yesterday, admittedly, the multiple champion of this tour. She was down for a tie for 111th, and in fact didn't even make it to the course for round 2 before pulling the plug on the event. Hopefully we will see a rebound for her shortly. That's lovely control, and will stay on the back portion of the green, narrowly avoiding the downslope. 3 to 4 meters for a bird. The 9 next to Jungmin. Approach at the par 5. Stay pretty close to the front right of the green and does exactly that. The wind will push her ever closer to the fringe. She might even rest just on the border of it, but we'll tuck it in nice and close. Kim So-yoon 2. Not only was she in the sand, but had the ball at the edge of the bowl. Able to muster a semi-decent recovery as we head to 8. Jungmi. By day's end yesterday, she had been +8 and 80 in the opening round. She is actually one of the lowest scores of anyone on the course today. Her 2 under par is bested only by Kim Soo-ji. And Serene is at it as well. And of course, the A1, her 2 under is what she finished the day with. On the climb, trying to get back above the cut line that is currently at +4. So everyone +5 or higher at the moment would not have enough to qualify for the first weekend of the new season. Genie at +3 has elected to go with the 6-iron here. Birdied the 2nd, bogeyed the 3rd, all pars otherwise. Just 5 yards off the front and 6 yards from the left is the pin on number 8 today. Likely taking a bit extra club with the wind right at her face. Struck it purely, but in a situation where maybe a little bit too much swing. Kim So-yoon 2 out of the bunker, still had a chance to look for a birdie. Those rose-tinted goggles, similar to Peng Min-ji. Straighter than she had anticipated there. Would have been a great up and down. Kim Min-bie. A whisker over 3 meters as she tries to get under par. Bumper into a share for a top 10 position. Took a few extra looks at that line, and in the end, not quite there. But her third birdie of the day, had birdied the second and the par 4 fifth. Well, you can certainly say that any trip towards the stones does not rock. To see Chana now with both feet on top of those grass-covered stones must be a nerve-wracking situation to be in, because you have absolutely no grip up there, especially if it's a little bit wet. Kim Soo-ji avoids the worst of it. Well, I don't envy that forthcoming putt. She is on the green, but with how topsy-turvy it is, honestly, the fringe might have been just fine with her. Had it rolled back a little bit. You can loft it instead of trying to swerve your way around towards the flag. We'll see how she approaches it. And speaking of approach, back to Young. Triple one, 111 meters out. Gets a little bit of a bounce on the fringe, takes some of the speed off, and sit up in a good spot. Sipeng Min-ji. Pick up with her at +2. She had been even in the opening round, and as much of an absolute superstar as she is, I can't say that we've never seen moments like that before, where not that she rushes through the short putts, but just doesn't take the same amount of time. And of course she puts the ball marker down and the ball lands to the other side, so she's just making sure there was nothing untoward done there. In no danger of missing the cut, but in danger of drifting away from contention. Chung Yoon-ji couldn't have placed that any better. It's about 3 feet out. Another one of those players that's trying to inch back closer to even. It was a relatively uninspiring day yesterday. Hung Yoo-min with a birdie to get to 4 under and right on that cut line. She is back on the qualifying side, at least for the time being. Still plenty of holes to play. From the opposite side of the sand, rolling it through the fairway, through the fringe, and we'll go all the way off to the other side and down the hill just before the rough once again. There's not a ton you can do from that spot. You risk burying it in the rough and not even getting to the green, but if you're not inch perfect, it's the likely outcome going all the way off to the other side. To 7, Lee Ga-young, her second. Nice little backspin to stop short, leave her with a slightly uphill putt for a birdie. We'll see for Kim Soo-ji where this wants to meander. Another simple tap, hoping she's starting it online. Looks pretty good, all things considered. An admirable effort. Again, she's trying to explain that the wind had taken the ball after she had put the mark down. I think she went to straighten it up and just nudged it a little bit. This is it again. So she puts the ball down on the other side, and here comes the wind. And the issue is, if she were to say, press down too much on the grass and force the ball to move herself, that could be a penalty. But if the wind does it on its own, there's really nothing she could have done any differently. So they just make sure that it's lined, and it's a lot to do with a lot to do for nothing, excuse me. And she'll already be frustrated having missed that short, what should have been 3-footer to save a par. To 6, Baek Jung starting this well left and just a little bit too much to the inside. Lips out, and there will be no birdie there. Lee Jung-min. Pardon me. She was a little bit closer to the fringe when the dust had settled than we initially had left her. Came awfully close to her birdie, but needed a second putt in the end. Taps in and rounds out her day. Would have been up to 1 under with Lee So-young and So-yeon Jung, but Lee Jung-min, who won the last official LPGA Tour of Korea event to end the season last year, will be at an exact 144, the midway mark of the event. That's a difference of tied for 33rd or tied for 42nd. Gets her bogey, and it was far enough out that it would have been tense. She's made the cut. That's all that counts for a player of her quality and ability to really crank up the intensity into the weekend. She will be starting at least 12 strokes back of VA1. Remains our leader. Now Lee So-mi, who has won this event, was back in 2021. Hasn't been able to maintain that same level of mastery of the Lotte Sky Hill. Having stopped just a couple of hours before we came on the air yesterday, and a bit of sun and plenty of wind, these greens have dried up quite significantly. They're playing much faster today. Makes those margins all the more fine. G, the first shot at number 7. Struck towards the right side of the fairway. Drove the ball well yesterday, G, only missing 3 fairways in regulation. Quite a bit of power to accompany it too. 243 yards she was averaging yesterday. Quite the tiny little approach. Li Shuying. It was 7th in the points and 8th in the money list last season for Park Ji-young. I've won 2 events, the second event of the season and the second to last event. Big one to win, the Hana Financial Group Singapore Ladies Open. Weather shortened event it had been the first week of December. Supposed to be 3 rounds, ended up only being 2. They just couldn't get Mother Nature to cooperate long enough. Last year's champion Cheng Su-Yan not in the field this week. A notable absence like Yu-Hei Ran. Before we take our first break of the day, this is where we sit at the minute. A 70 in the second round for EA1, the sophomore. She comfortably sits ahead of the pack. Park Young with a brilliant day. She's just been steady. There haven't been many errors, and it's been good enough to keep her in joint second position at the minute. And as I mentioned, not many players under par, only 11 at the moment with the projected cut line, as you'll see, the bottom right side of that leaderboard at +4. We'll step aside and be back to Jeju in just a few moments.
안 들려 바람 때문에. 이 정도면 괜찮아 그래도. 근데 좀 많이 세게 딱 치지 말고 좀 살짝만 딱 치고.
This is the 8th tee with KLPGA. She's tentative as she watches that soar through the sky.
나이스.
It'll be a big wave of relief, but you can hear her caddy begging the ball to stop exactly where it is.
라틴 중에 한 명, 두 명, 근데 최근 감독이 이건 처음 나오거든요. 라틴인데 좀 어린 거, 어린 거. 어디 가면서 그 차에서 뛰는 거죠. 아이 진짜 남들이 다 막, 음료수만 쓰고 마실 때 다 마시고만 이거 우리가 하나도 안 챙겨주는 거야 이러고.
Can't strike it much better than that. Brilliant little curl, and that's been the secret sauce to Jeongyunji's success. That's how little she leaves herself to putt with. Ying finishes off as we head over to 15. 501 meter long par 5. That's the typical route. Right side of fairway, not many players going overly bold with the tee shot. The wind would have to be just right to try and stay left, so instead the field zigzags their way about the longest hole on the course. She was headed right, but it does stay on the green. Time and time again, these professionals have proved that the bunker is less of a hazard than more of just a routine occurrence. Let's see how Park Ji-young manages to escape. It's downhill and the pin protected by the rough. Park Ji-young plays it safe and can't stay on the green. So Yoon too with a brilliant touch. That's exceptional control. Gives herself with the tap in. And more unplanned excursions to the beach. Kim Soo-ji, and she is well off the back. Up on the hill, and she's not going to want to pitch that very far onto the green with how quickly the downhill takes effect. far right of the green. She takes a bit of a longer path than would have been preferred and will walk off. Speaking of longer path than preferred, it's Kim Soo-ji, and she will graze the fringe. Could have been a foot or two further towards the pin, but minimizes any potential disaster with the downslope kicking in just on the other side of that pin. The stroke will be grazing through the rough. Still electing for the putter, Bak Ji-young, her third. It's a little dribbler, about a foot shy. Tap in par. Nothing gained, but nothing lost either when it could have gone either way after finding the bunker off the tee. The second at 10 for Lee Shu-ying. Oh, look at that. Tails over at the very end. It's an automatic birdie. Playing with your mates, tell you to just pick that one up. Kim Soo-ji's par save, it's overhit and didn't budge to the right whatsoever. Back over par she will go. She had been up 54 positions today. Hardest charger of anyone out there prior to that bogey. Basically, swapping spots with Chung Yoon-ji, assuming she finishes this less than a meter putt, which she does precisely that, and back to even par. For a round that has seen a birdie and an eagle, this is the first blemish. Second bogey of the tournament. She's had a little bit of everything as she descends beneath even. She had a double bogey at the par 5 fourth yesterday. Today, she eagled that hole. One birdie and two bogeys otherwise. Next attempt at that swerving left to right putt. Stops pin high. Take quite the remarkable bit of skill to capitalize from that point of the green. Shu Ying up to 5 under par. Boys are over Park Young and Park Ji-young for outright.
안녕하세요. 2023년 신인으로 올라온 리슈잉 프로입니다. 네, 제 국적은 중국이고 한국에 8살부터 와서 10살부터 골프를 하면서 지금 쭉 한국에 살고 있기 때문에 한국어를 잘 하는 것 같습니다. 중국에서 프로턴만 하고 이제 아예 한국에서 올 시즌은 KLPGA 투어를 뛸 예정입니다. 이제 외국인을 개방해 주시고 점프랑 드림을 통해서 정규 투어에 올라왔습니다. 네, 아직 이제 정규 투어에 올라왔지만 시합을 하나도 뛰지 않아서 좀 설레기도 하고 기도도 되고 좀 긴장도 좀 되는 것 같습니다. 최대한 열심히 해서 좋은 성적을 낼 수 있도록 하려고 노력하고 있습니다.
She is one of 2 internationals at the event this week. That's why we see English on the back of the caddy's bib. She, along with the Swede Lynn Grant, and showing up, she is a fluent Korean speaker. Certainly makes assimilating the tour a little bit easier. She's certainly making her presence felt here on Jeju as she currently occupies the 2nd position on the leaderboard. She has matched what EA1 was able to do, and she still has 8 holes of her round still to be played. If she birdies half of them, she will share the lead heading into moving day tomorrow. We'll certainly be keeping a very close eye on both she and Park Ji-young, who are both within the top 3 early days. Our number of players under even par, well, it has remained the same, though we have swapped out a couple of names with Lee So-young and some bogeys beneath that, back to the logjam that is the even par score. 10 players at the minute tied at that mark. We'll step aside once again. More from the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open when we come back. Welcome back. More adventures at 8. Chung Yun-ji unable to land and remain on the green. We will have to wait and see just what lies in front of one of the hottest players on the course right now. Hole further forward as Kim Soo-yeon's approach at 9. Trying to set up a birdie. Be about 6 meters away with the backspin.
저게 나쁘지? 응. 20. 제가 사람도 보는 거.
I've seen a few players go for the 6. Oftentimes taking them all the way to the back. It's relatively long green at 8. Jiyoung's going for the 7-iron. Not even a full swing at that. Asking for it to stop. Doesn't quite do that. Has other intentions. Off towards the left, but at least she's putting. Trying to muscle it up out of the rough. Nearly stays on the green. We'll have the option. That chip or a putt will be. And the last in this group, Kim Soo-ji. Full grip and rep with the 7. We've had players who went for 6 and wished they would have clubbed down. We have others who've gone for 7 and wish they would have clubbed up. Certainly ends up being the incorrect choice, but the wind is not making it much easier. 4 meters per second. It's picked up even more drastically in the hour since we've been on the air. Expertly played, not quite all the way enough to go low on this hole. Stand pat. One more through this second round.
일단 올해 루키 시즌인 만큼 되게 정규 투어에 적응을 한다는 마음으로 시합에 임하겠지만 그래도 적극적인 플레이를 하면서 후회 없는 루키 시즌을 보내고 싶어요. 일단 목표로 세운 거는 당연히 첫 승을 목표로 세웠고 약간 세부적인 목표는 매대회 예선 통과와 10번의 탑10으로 정했어요.
Been asked some of the hopes, some of the expectations for this new season. Highlighting a goal is a top 10 in 2023. A little bit more action on that putt than Yumin would have perhaps been expecting. The many Lotte sponsored athletes out here in one of their 2 events this season. course, the Lotte Open later in the summer. Fly over to 16. 218-meter drive, parallel with the bunker, leaving just a short wedge, buck 12. Off kilter once again, making a beeline for the hill. Distance not too bad, just misaligned. Kim So-yoon 2 for birdie. It's on line to the right. That's an exceptional bird. Just enough power right on the money, and she goes under par for the first time today. Kim Soo-ji bumping up from the fairway. About 2.5, 3 meters for her par. Now we get our answer. It's not quite buried in the rough, but it is at least 3/4 of the way deep. Up and probably just run it on the fringe. We did a bit more than that, though. That's certainly a miss hit. Almost like she gave up on her swing halfway through it. Well, all of a sudden the tension rises for her after having just got beneath par. We see Li Shuying, 210-meter drive, 95 to go. Depending on which way the wind is blowing, could be just a gap wedge. Lost in the clouds. Where is it? It's towards the left side of the green, left to right wind. Might have just overcompensated for that a little bit. Rejoining Park Ji-young. It's the kick over. Oh, it does so at the very end. She had her break. There aren't many near misses as frustrating as that one when you can see the ball perfectly in behind the flag. Knowing exactly what you thought the ball would do, and it did it, just a fraction too late. She'll settle for par. Able to get up out of the rough. Now does she get down to avoid a bogey? Still not on the green, and yet the par save, and it's under hit again. You can see how quickly that bobbled up. Par 3 to forget, unfortunately, for Jung Yoon-ji. magic our leader after round one was able to produce yesterday, it is unfortunately not carried over into Friday. It is another bogey on a front nine that has seen quite a few of them. That is her third bogey. She also had the double at 11. Takes her to +5, and yet still in a tie for 6th. Kim Soo-ji's attempted a par save now. Little right to left, and no problems. Li Shu Ying going to putt it down from the fringe. Kicks over a little bit early. Didn't quite have the break point where she needed it. More impressive features of the scorecard thus far for the young Chinese is just 2 bogeys. And unfortunately, speaking of bogeys, that will cost Jung Yoon-ji his shot. 4 strokes on this par 3. Almost as if it was scripted. That's about 7 feet to avoid a 3rd bogey of the day. Keeps herself in sole possession of the 2nd position. Time to wrap up the sky course. Pak Ji-young will tee off first. Yesterday, this had been her longest stretch of pars. 8 in a row after birdieing the first. Wouldn't see another until 10. On pace to match her 35 to go out with. Hong Jung-min on a day, a tournament thus far that hasn't had too many calls for applause like that at +10. She has an accurate approach, right on the money. Down on a tie for 96th position. She was a 77 yesterday. She is already 5 over on her final hole of the front nine. Li Shu Ying needed to battle to avoid dropping back into that 3-way tie at 4 under. She has her par to stay 4 back of our leader EA1, Chun Ye-sung, Chung So-yi, Kim Woo-jung round out the front page of the leaderboard, 6 back of EA1. reached 3 p.m. local time here on Jeju. Blast with the driver gets our second hour of coverage of the Lotte Rent-A-Card Ladies Open underway. Next up, heading to the green, bordering on the fringe. Slight uphill putt. Oh, that's a great lead for Ige Young. One step closer to the cut line as she moves to +5, and she certainly had to work for that. Second shot on the par 5, struck cleanly with the 5-wood for Park Ji-young. Will just have enough to hang on to the fairway. Well, she set herself up in expert fashion, and around in a tournament where things up to that point aren't going your way, you need those little moments. Just to take a big exhale and remind yourself that you are capable of it. Easy to get overwhelmed and forget sometimes. Also following in her groupmate's footsteps with a unremarkable second shot. And second shot on a par 5, unremarkable, often a good thing. 12 will be next, 234 meters, another great drive for Li Shuying. These are double digits still to be made up on the par 4. Showing a level of mastery that few have been able to consistently pull off this weekend. Another approach inside a driver's length. Second for Kim So-yoon 2. Iron from the middle of the fairway. Misses to the left, and that is awfully close to the bunker if it's not in it. Probably would prefer to be in it. With how thick the rough is, and we saw what it cost ENG just a moment ago. Kim Soo-ji's approach. See the flag being jostled in the wind just over the edge, the left edge of the bunker. Plays that really well. Might have just got a piece of the fringe. Rolls back and will border upon it. Meters on the approach at 10 for Kim Min-bye. Just as the wind tapers off a little bit, gets herself almost perfectly in line with the flag. It said Park Ji-young had stayed just away from the rough, and it is literal centimeters hanging on to the fairway. Left to right wind on the way down. Rival the approach from Hong Jung-min that we saw just a moment ago. 5-footer for a birdie. For a little bit of backspin, Jung Yoon-ji. We noticed on several occasions last season that this is a part of her game that she's still trying to iron out. How streaky she can be. When it's going well, it's going very, very well. But when there are those moments of bad holes, they have a tendency to stitch together. Set herself up brilliantly and knocks down a birdie to move within 3 of the lead. You have to earn the right for those simple birdie putts, and Jenny certainly had done that. Well, it does, in the end, come to rest in the sand, and that's why I said you probably prefer it. Gives you a bit more control, a little bit more oomph to it than was required. About 8 meters to try and save par next. This would be her chance to get back to even, but the percentages are stacked against her. Let's see how Chung Yoon-ji fares. Watch all the speed this is going to pick up. Level with the hole and gone. Right at the flag. Uses it as an assist. Kept it in the hole for that very purpose. That is a lovely little birdie picked up. Inside the cut line at the moment and trying to now work her way further up. And you mean from that 3 over score she now resides at. Go to 13. Instant feedback is positive with driver. Yesterday at 13 had just been par. It's a 4-hole run between her birdies. This is breaking right on time for Kim Min-jae. Birdie and back to under par. If what we've seen the past few shots is any indication, she's going to start this well right. Still not quite enough. That is how aggressive the slope is on that portion of the green. A 2-putt par. And in the meantime, back we head. Kim Soo-yeon too needed that to save par, but she'll drop 2 even with the bogey. There's just a lot still to be decided after that approach shot. Well, that's a job very well done for Chung Yoon-ji. Could have easily hung her head in frustration and dropped again, but she fights off a bogey. We've seen more flashy holes from Li Shuying as she climbs her way up the leaderboard. It's just been slow and steady for Park Ji-young. She'll happily take it, methodically working her way up the leaderboard, and completes the front nine. One more birdie to show for it. This is hole number 10, the first hole on the Ocean course, where we are playing the back nine this week. 354 meters. Plenty of sand to be mindful of. Tee shot at the end of that bunker on the right, 205 meters from the teeing ground. Really just depends how you attack this hole with how far you can drive the ball. 354 meters. You can see the green is distinctly partitioned into 3 main sections. Pin today in round 2, straight from the left side, 16 yards deep and 6 yards from the left. Pretty well between the 2 bunkers, maybe even in line with that deepest one to its left side. Longer drivers, if they can handle the wind, and as we can see, as we can hear, it is certainly a factor, especially as those trees open up and it is wide open spaces across the water. The longer hitters center the fairways just fine. If you don't quite have as much in the locker, kind of aim towards the right side of the bunker down in the fairground, and that, excuse me, down in the background, give you the straightest line for your second shot. Let's see how Park Ji-young attacks. She elects for the center. Plenty of room to work with. In her first round yesterday of the 2 courses, Sky on the way out, Ocean on the way in. She found a couple extra birdies on the back nine compared to the front nine, where she only had the 1 at 1. She did birdie 10 yesterday. Kim Soo-ji, it was pars all the way from 9 to 18 yesterday. She didn't have a single birdie on Thursday. She has a birdie and an eagle. The midway mark of her second round. Drive, Jung Yoon-ji. We are 3 for 3 into the fairway. This absolutely stunning facility designed by Robert Trent Jones Jr. and family. The Jeju Country Club is just an absolutely wonderful host to this event. It is the 15th playing of the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open. We have a couple of prior champions in the field this week, and we have the potential for a career debut win from either Ye Won or Li Shuying. Not getting too far ahead of ourselves, but they are the class of the field thus far, with some wily veterans like Park Ji-young also making a push towards the top. More from the Lotte Sky Hill Jeju Country Club in moments.
아니면 거기 오디오 팀 누구 있어요? 잠깐만 바꿔주세요. 감독님, 13세컨 오디오 라인이 잘렸어. 오디오 라인 잘려져 있어. 네. 알겠습니다. 네. 카트 좀 갈게요. 카트요, 카트.
Great to have you aboard on this Friday afternoon on Jeju. Second round coverage of the LOTTE Rent-A-Car Ladies Open. At the moment, Li Shuying 3 strokes back, playing on 13. Pretty much a dead straight look down towards the pin. Relatively speaking, a gentle right to left breeze. It was a pretty good spot in the fairway and an uncharacteristic miss. We haven't seen too many of those. Born December 18th of 2003. 19 years of age is Li Shuying. I swear these challengers just keep getting younger and younger while the rest of us wonder how they've been able to accomplish so much at such a young age. But I mean, a lot of these players, doesn't matter which country they hail from, they are probably given a toy, plastic, or wooden golf club when they're just learning how to walk, and they hardly let them go. It's a game, it's a hobby, and it's an obsession for so many masters of their craft. Bak Ji-young certainly in that category. Let's see if she's able to stay on the green. Significantly more to the right by the looks of it. It's a bit shallow, but something with which to work. Quietly putting together one of the best rounds of the day, Kim Min-jae, 2 under. Share of a top 10 position, and save for that backspin, she would have gone up once again. She was just a couple of feet away, and that ball's not done moving. It's making its way back towards the flag, but that was on the green within a foot or two radius around the hole and just shooting back like an elastic band. Final approach on 10 will belong to Kim Soo-ji. Lands at the front left of the green and thinks about working its way down the hill, but will stay perched up. Back to 13. Needs to pitch this up 14 meters out, probably land it a foot or two past the fringe. Even that's a bit too much. Fringe might have even been best case scenario. Easier said than done when you're not the one swinging the golf club. Jung Yoon-ji rounds out the trio. Round certainly could have deteriorated from the point when she bogeyed the last. She was in a bit of a precarious position on the succeeding hole, excuse me. Able to ensure that it wasn't going to be back-to-back bogeys. Make a mental note of that one for later, depending on how the rest of the afternoon goes. She's not out of the woods yet, Li Shuying. That's probably gonna break away. It does. Was hanging on. There was a chance. Needed to be a degree or two more to the left to start that putt. And it is a bogey. A rarity on her scorecard. It drops her back level with Park Ji-young at 5 under par. Unless they do the old switcheroo here. Should this putt send the ball to the bottom of the cup. Downhill, just a nudge to get it started. Not gonna have the line, not gonna have the speed. For Kim So-yoon 2. Gets it to about pin high. Be an uneventful par from there. Greenskeeping crew not making many friends with the pin placement there today. Oh, nearly another highlight reel putt. Just loops around as the 180 and stays out. At this point, Jung Yoo-min will feel like she's fairly safe above the cut line, but now she wants to work her way closer to even, just as Jung Yoon-ji was hoping to do, but not quite enough. left it short, and she will settle for consecutive pars.
고!
Little action to the left at the end. Just shy, just offline. Par for KLPGA as well.
가!
It is the second of 4 par 4s in a row here on the Ocean Course. Number 11, 309 Meterage, a par 4. Halasan on the right, an uphill green, dogleg right as well. Bunkers on both sides of the fairway makes for a true test with the accuracy of the driver. If you're able to keep yourself in the fairway, from there you have one last bunker to contend with. The cashew-shaped trap to the right of the green, the pin on this Friday here at 11. Well, it is pretty close to the center of the green towards the back, 9 yards from the back of it. 309 meters. It is the second shortest par 4, only pipped by number 7. Jiang loses the grip on the follow through, and that is headed for a trip in the trees. That's not going to be a fun out. It's either a low punch with a 7-iron or a hybrid, but there will be no green attacking. Not this early in the tournament, not when she's this close to the top. We'll go cautious from there. Seven iron for Li Shuying on the first par 3 of the back 9. Over the water with the wind at her back. Makes the appropriate adjustments and comes up with a pretty decent tee shot. Side of the fairway goes Kim Soo-ji. Well, we had our blue skies for the first hour or so today, but the clouds have rolled back over on the course. Should be a bit of a similar looking forecast tomorrow on moving day, and there has been plenty of moving today on both sides of that spectrum. Jung So Yi, who was our leader, 64 in round 1. She's currently 5 over. She teed off on the 10th hole, so she is on pace for a 41 on the way out. So I have An Sunju and Lee Jung Min both going a little bit higher today than par. Xu Ying and Park Jiang, they are jostling for position, 4 back of EA1.
뒤에 멈춰주세요.
We rejoined Park Ji-young, and there was an opening. It was a bit of a clearer path than it had initially appeared when we saw her go into the trees, but it doesn't change the approach of just working back to the fairway. Unless she dunks it from there, she's looking at par at best. Let's see how she attacks the next shot in the meantime. The ceilings continue to drop, and the parkas are coming back out in between shots. Xu Ying on the money nearly. Thought it was just gonna hang on. I think she did the same. Awfully close a couple of times. She's finding at least the lip of the hole consistently. Fortunately for her sake, they're not always going down. Prevents her from moving even closer to EA1. Jiang able to fly all the way to the green. Get a bit of a helpful roll back, but she will need to sink from there to keep herself out of par. KLPGA bounces once, twice, 3 times, and rolls about 7 feet past the hole. Camouflaged, hidden on the other side of the rock wall. Finds the green, but again, that zip back that we've seen a few times here. It's the trade-off with the wedges. To the par 3 we go once again. She knew she was working with something productive, and a step further, it's a fantastic tee shot. No aces yet this week. The note of trivia for the superfans who had the first hole-in-one of the year. That answer yet to be written. So Yoon 2 for birdie. Looking to get to 1 under. And starts back, and it's there. One swing of that putter. out of the logjam at even and into a tie for 10th position. Downhill before it plateaus. A fair bit of speed. So have the wind working against you here as well. A little bit to the outside. It's a great effort. The odds certainly weren't in her favor, but she gave it her best crack. Tap in for another par. Easy, finishing off that hole with a great putt. Jung Mi started to slip back down the leaderboard again, going with 8-iron. A lower ball flight, very helpful with the blustery wind and finishing ever closer. Quite point to one critique or one weakness in the game. She just hasn't been able to put everything together. Jung Mi as of yet in this opening tournament of the season. Takes 2 putts for Kim Soo-ji, another par on the day. She knew it was quick. I was hoping she was going to counter that with it being online, but unfortunately not the case. Trying to set up a birdie putt. Waits for the wind to die down slightly. You can see the flag atop of the pin nearly motionless. It's all the way off towards the left side of the green. Satisfying rattle. Bak Ji-young, first bogey of the day. It was bound to come eventually, but expedited that process by sending the tee shot into the forest. As the textbook on how you play this hole is brilliantly struck. Not hard to spot Lee Young out there today with those bright pink pants. Just needs to hit the brakes. It's a lot to work with there. This is starting on line, but it kicks out at the end, denying Imjini a bird. Very promising when it left the putter. It's a sport of millimeters. Hard to follow up the birdie at the last. Thick rough at 13. Unable to escape it, she's right back in it to the left of the green. And about a 5-footer that poses absolutely no difficulties for Han Jung-mi. It's a lot of activity on that scorecard. She was on the up and up. 2 birdies through the first 7. Hasn't parred on any single hole in the back 9 yet. But does have her birdie at 14.
Sure.
Classifying Kim Soo-ji's swing with the driver is a little bit more on the unorthodox side, but she's got it down to a science at this point. Another hole and another chance to move back to even for G. Get a fortuitous kick. The dead center of the fairway. Rarely do we see issues with driver. One of the more consistent and fault-free aspects of her game.
Shot.
Park Ji-young, the last 2 tee off at 12. Our final featured group of the day is away. 1 under and 1 under. Park Young and Park Ji-young at the moment. The former in the clubhouse. And outside of the top 3, it is a 7-stroke gulf between EA1 and the top of the leaderboard. We will return to the Lotte Rent-A-Card Ladies Open after a short break. back, a couple of excellent approach shots. We should be seeing at minimum one birdie out of the pair. Cannot say the same for Kimin Biai at 13. Finds herself on the downslope on the wrong side of the green and catches that really thick. Takes a big divot with her, and with the downslope back into the valley, that works out pretty well. Kim Soo-ji at 12. Only 68 meters back. Ends up as the furthest from the pin of the three. This putt's going to start significantly off center from Kim So-yoon 2. Picked up speed and never picked up any break. Onwards to 15. Seen a couple players, a couple groups play through the par 5 thus far. Li Shuying and company. Her second shot of 160 meters leaves her with just 135 to the pin. Reminder, the placement in round 2 is right on the right side. 6 yards from the fringe. Brings the downslope towards the tall grass and the water into play. Gone with the hybrid here, 135. Again, the reminder. And she does find that rough. Stays up on the hill, however. Avoids any kind of disaster, but still sees the camera and goes, it's probably not the time. Come back to me when I've got a great shot to show you. Didn't promise you a birdie, but I did say I expect one out of the group. Kim Soo-ji had the largest outside chance. Should be an uneventful par putt when the time comes. Played from Kimin Biai to secure that par. Birdie, par, birdie, par. Thus far through 4 on the back 9. Still ironing out some of the nuances of the new scoreboard graphics packages, but looks like we're seeing the scorecard more frequently as more time passes. Nice to get that visual look of how everyone's faring. Park Ji-young eliminates her her bogey from 11 with the birdie here at 12. Back to where she was about 20 minutes ago. Another reverse grip hand position. Kim So-yoon 2. Grazes the right side and is scratching her head to figure out how she let that one slip through her fingers. Jung Yun-ji make it 2 birdies in a row here at 12. No. She was going to have just enough to hang on, but it will be par. Now Shuying up from the rough and up the hill. You can stop any time now, ball. 5.5 feet will be the par putt. She has scratched and clawed her way up to 2 under.
고! 됐어?
Pretty impressive birdie to
바람 방향 한 번만 알려주세요.
take over outright 5th position, but she is up 34 spots today, Kim Min-byae. One bogey she's had on the round, and fortunately for Li Shuying, she is starting to see a couple more on this back nine. Punished for a mistake here at 15. There's now 2 bogeys in the last 3 holes after only carding 1 on the front nine. The 6 here on the par 5, 15th. The runner position at the moment belongs to Bak Ji-young, and Bak Ji-young alone. Again, finding some trouble off the tee and towards the rock wall. In the rough won't be as precarious as the one she had a couple of holes ago, but certainly not ideal either. Drops it in just behind her group mates. At 392 yards, 358 meters. Confident stare down. Didn't have to stare very long. Jung Yun-ji, she knew she was going to like it. Another breathtaking panorama. One of the 38, countries that Robert Trent Jones Jr. and the Jones family have designed. 38 countries, over 200 courses, and 80 alone in the Asia Pacific region, and it has the hallmarks of the beauty and the challenge in harmony here on Jeju. back onto line a little too much, and surely the wind had a factor there.
한쪽 보고 거리 맞춰서 그냥 똑 떨어뜨린다는
Just
느낌으로.
blistering off the water.
어.
It will be a par that she settles for. This looks like she's given herself the appropriate amount of room, and I think with a little bit extra weight to it, she would have been there. She as well will be settling for a 2-putt par, Kim Min-jae. 1 bogey today, that came at 3. She has been consistently attacking the pins. We call this uncomfortable. To get enough grip, enough traction, Bak Ji-young basically has buried her right leg beneath the sand, up on her toes with the front foot, and needs that ball to stop. Nope, she is heading right back. Caddy might as well bring the rake with her. Sand to sand she goes. We have seen, Li Shuying tapering off a little bit, and similar misfortunes accompanying Bak Ji-young. On to 13, Chung Min-ji. Onto the fairway, 13, from the sand we had been. Should come around, bring back a little bit. Might pick up an inch or two closer. She won't fear that distance out. It's one of those rare cases. There's a few of them on tour where those 3 to 5 footers, 2 to 3 meters that are generally your run-of-the-mills, that will give a little bit more anxiety than something 5 or 6 meters out. There's something about less pressure if I should make it. Some players like that expectation to be a little bit lower, and Chung Min-ji thrives on that. Lastly, Kim Soo-ji. Too much backspin, pops her up onto the fringe, giving her the option. First attempt to scope out, and an opportunity for Bak Ji-young's caddy to get the yardage from the sand. Bak Ji-young walking all the way onto the green just to get a scouting report on the break. Into the trap she'll go once more. She had the 9th highest bunker save percentage last season. The 28 events she competed in. 57% when you round up. certainly top echelon. And there's another example of why. Just somehow, that's the whole point of the sand trap, is it's supposed to make it a challenge, punish you for mistakes, but it's always a sight to behold. Nonchalant too afterwards. Yeah, just another day at the office for one of the best in the country. And the fact she can drop in as well. And she walks to the green, she gets her vantage point, she goes, okay, this is where I want to put it. No real practice swings, just drops on in. 5 seconds later, she's set and executing. And despite being in not one but 2 bunkers on this 13th hole, she will quite likely be walking out with a par. Those are the fine margins at the top for those competing for trophies. Putting from the fringe. Gets it within 3 feet or so. Acknowledgement of the supporters braving the elements. Not a bad place to spend a Friday. Not just the country club here, but Jeju in general. It's 250 meters on 16 from the tee to the trees. Depending on how buried she is here, I'm not gonna try and make any projections. She's on the right side of it, the correct side of it, I should say. Though both would be applicable. Sent it out of bounds, so that brings her to her 4th shot here. Needs to get it close to try and mitigate the amount of strokes she'll drop. And does not do that. It was not a kind or forgiving lie, but she's put herself in a worse one on the wrong side of the hole. So she'll be playing a pitch up and almost certainly going to be putting not 1 but 2 squares over her score. Seeing her start to slip a little bit in the home stretch. ENG came within millimeters, but it will just be a tap-in par. It's 5 in a row now. Hasn't seen a birdie since 7. She had gone back-to-back. 3 and 4 was a great run midway through the Sky Course. Jung not quite ready, so send it a couple of holes further down. Kim So-yoon 2, our approach at 15. Comfortably at even for the time being, 135 meters. That is what remains. Not quite sure how she ended up there. One thing to want to attack the right side of the green, but it's just how long she went beyond the hole as well. It's a miss hit. against the odds of 2 traps. Park Ji-young escapes unscathed. See if Kim Min-bi can keep this on the putting surface. She goes a little long as well, but will stop up on the fringe. Definitely tell that they're being a little bit tentative with the wind. The last thing they want to do is be short and have it sent off course into the water. Kim Soo-ji has her par to stay at 1 over. Some big names at that score: Cho Ae-yeon, Im Hee-jung. He was also there. Lynn Grant, the Swede, is there after a 75 today. This would be the bogey shot for Lee Shu-ying. Needs this to get very close. A good up at last. But at the moment, she will be dropping down to be level with Kim Min-bi. Take her 7 strokes back of VA1. Down to the final 5 holes of the day. 2 par 3s, 2 par 5s in this little stretch. Yesterday, with how soft the greens had been playing, probably would have been nowhere as close as she is after the tee shot there, but it bounds up a little bit like a trampoline. Gets her all the more close. There are a lot of big golf fans right now who are glued to their computers, their phones, their TVs. It is a great time of year for the sport. I think a year ago, there was a Korean taking center stage at the Masters. Norwegian at the moment. But especially with the time change in this part of the world, you can either wake up early or stay up late, get your Augusta National fix, and then just keep on rolling with the LPGA Tour of Korea. Digging the heels in. This is a tricky one for Kim So-yoon too. Not sure run-of-the-mill bunker shot with how much loft she needs here. Has the lob wedge out. Need to get significantly more underneath it. She'll get a little bit of help if she walks the turf-laden staircase back towards the green. I'll still leave her with about 7 meters and a downhill putt. Smooth as silk, the swing from Jung Yoon-ji. Almost an identical distance out from Park Ji-young, just on the other side of the hole. Well, she needed that. It's still a double bogey. It's still a blow-up hole. But 2 under will certainly feel miles better than a triple. really only 20 or so players of the 117 that remain in the field that are under par today. Li Shuying had been one of them. This needs to start to slow down. It's always going to be tough from that far back. She's starting to dance a little bit close to the cut line again. She had built herself not quite a comfortable cushion, but a cushion nevertheless. Hung Yumin is stumbled a little bit the past few holes, including a double bogey at 12. Can't say the same for Kim Min Biai. Birdie there would have taken her to 4 under for the day. She already has the best score of the round in progress at 3 under. On the opposite side of that spectrum, the high score of the day, an 83 from Kim Ji-young 2. No birdies and 6 bogeys on the front 9, 3 on the back, plus a double bogey. Day to forget that we'll see her stumble out of this opening tournament of the year. Cut line remains at +5, 68 players at the minute. We're above that mark. A few, a stroke or two that they're trying to make up on the home stretch here. There are some unusual names on the wrong side of it. Lee So-mi is one. She's got a round of +5 in progress. Jian Sol is going to miss out by 1. Park Yeo also +6. No Sung-yi, Chae Min-kyung. Some other names that really stand out. Tentatively working her way back up the hill. Kim Soo-ji launches a breakaway to the right. Still a lengthy downhill putt here. Frustrating ones when they're hung up short like that. I think you don't mind risking a little bit more, generally speaking, when if you are long, it's 3 or 4 feet back uphill, gives you a bit more control over it. So it's frustrating to miss short and this low. Number 7 was her last birdie. 7 holes later, she gets another. Back to even. Goes Chung Yun-ji. meter and change and slightly downhill, and a par for Kim Min-biai. That putter is absolutely dialed in at the moment. Speaking of dialed in, it's worn on her face as well. 2 birdies in the last 3, 4 now on the day. She has 4 holes to play, and she's within 3 strokes of EA1 for the lead. A hop, skip, and a stick towards the fringe. Shallow on the green, but on the green. After her misfortunes the hole previous, she probably won't have any complaints just to be par. On the next hole, we've seen her drop from 4 under with Pak Young to 2 under par. EA1 at 9 under. That was the score that Chang Soo-yeon won last season with. In fact, 3 of the last 4 winners going back to 2018 with Kim Ji-hyun. Cho Ah-yeon 9 under has been the best. But with the way EA1 has played thus far, let's not put 18 under, the record for the course when it was a 3-round event from Lee Jung and 6 from 2017, 3 straight rounds of 66 when she took home the title in 2017. We'll step aside. More from the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open when we return. we go on the first par 5 of the back 9 for Pak Ji-young. She has been far and away the most consistent of anyone out there today. And one of the areas that hasn't been quite up to perfection by her standards has been the tee shots. An uneventful one means a good one for a hole that she parred yesterday. Using just about every available meter of the green, going all the way to the back before getting gentle push back down the hill closer to the flag. Managing the wind and the pin position well. Shuying looking to bounce back at 17, but it breaks away almost immediately. A couple times now she's looked down at that putter for some answers. And sometimes they'd like the putter to answer them back, but more often than not, might get a little back tuck. Kim Soo-ji again is finding some danger with that long grass towards the water. I think she'll be all right the second time through. Everyone is away on the march. And she tried to go a little bit more aggressive, playing that tee shot to the left side. We typically see that zigzag right left pattern here at 15.
뒷바람이긴 한데 확실하게 뒷바람이라고 나는 얘기를 할 수가 없어. 그래서 그냥 그거 다 치면 돼 그냥 편하게. 굳이 뭐 낮게
Quite a consideration just yet,
쪽으로
but
떨어지면 가장 베스트이긴 해.
this last handful of greens are significantly more narrow in shape. Some significantly more forgiving ones on the front 9. Just because there's more green to shoot towards doesn't mean it's any more easier to get close. Just increases the likelihood that the putter will be the next club. Showing her partners how it's done. She's still scratching and clawing her way past the cut line. She doesn't have any strokes to spare. Hung Yoo-min with 3 holes to play. She cannot bogey. Well, if she does, she'll need to get it back. What I'm saying is she is at +5, which is our projected cut line. 68 players right now are safe. Kim Soo-ji still getting the lay of the land. That will open things up for Ji-young and the hybrid, and she does not like that at all. That would be why she's gone out of bounds. So finally a crack in the armor. She knew right away off the toe and tried to maybe chase it a little bit too much with her hands, but she knew right away. Right hand came off the club and she was resigned to her fate. And nobody will appreciate that more than EA1. So that is 2 members now of Group 29 who are contending with the boundary.
애초에 좀 많이 이렇게 휘어서 왔거든요. 그래서 한 아까 포캐디분 말로 이쪽으로 세훈이 좀 이쪽이라고 말씀하셨어요. 그쪽이면 공이 여기까지 올 수 없어요. 저희 볼은 갔어요 그냥. 네네네. 들어갔어요 그냥. 네네. 아, 2분 다 들어가신 거예요? 잠깐만요.
저희는 레이업 할 거라.
아, 오케이.
If you've ever wondered how the leaderboards and the yardages are updated so quick, whether you've got the website on a second screen or whatnot, those are the staffers in those green bibs. Not only are they tracking the number of shots, adding any penalties, but they've got their own rangefinder to tell you exactly how far each shot has gone. Each group is assigned one. They're quite busy throughout the day. Unfortunate for Iga Young, she has her second bogey in the last 3 plus 6, so now she is on the wrong side of the cut line. And a bit of a shocking one, considering where that par putt had been taken from. You can see the red spray-painted hazard line. The other worry, the other consideration here is that overhanging long grass that will be quick to claim the ball. There is very little to do here. You're either going to catch it on your backswing or your follow through when you're that close to the water. Even on a clear day with no wind, that is just a gruesome lie. It is buried, and I mean buried. She's got to fight through the grass to get to it. Has to go left away from the reeds. Just try and get it back out to the fairway. You're going to see it, you're going to hear that brown grass being caught on the backswing. Just punches it back out, and that pretty well takes birdie off the cards. BI for birdie at 16. Oh, it started to correct its course at the end. Li Shuying and Chen Ye Sung at the moment also sharing that 2 underscore. 16 holes down, 2 to go. Par 3 will be next. Better in terms of the contact where it was struck for Pak Jiang after her penalty. Chen Ying-ji, excuse me. With her feet in the grass. To the left of the ball marker, and it'll start to drop, but it was nowhere near hard enough, that putt. looked slightly off balance. She was leaning over the ball quite significantly, but she is down safely into that final patch of fairway before the green. And you believe for birdie. There is our confirmation there. Nicely executed. Gives herself a bit more space back above that cut line. Tied for 46th, second birdie of the back nine, fourth of the round. Just needs to hang on with a couple of holes remaining. And she should be back with us this weekend. A little bit more to the left. The break should be similar to what we just saw. Trying to pick out her break point. Make sure she's clear of any obstructions. That extra studying. And still yet to come up with the solution. Until she was never confident with it. So we go to 18. Second shot from Yishu Ying. Does precisely what she needed to do. ENG with a top shelf approach. Directly into the drink went Pak Jiang. Zoom all the way in, see that right to left wind. Doesn't quite have the space to be anywhere outside of 6 or 7 feet. Kim Soo-ji playing her fourth now. That's what Pak Jiang is going to want to try to avoid. Grits her teeth and stomps her foot in a bit of frustration. Trying to get close, set up a par. She too, outside of the 10-meter range. Might see a bevy of bogeys here. It's not been a hole to remember for this group. 17th tee. What you mean? Earned a trip up to +4 with her birdie at the last. Unable to find the green, however, on this 167-meter par 3, the longest of the 4.
난 그 대신 낮게는 쳐줘. 맞바람이 불 수가 있으니까. 타워 정도 보고.
For 2, trying to find that green. We have a short and we have a long left. Not exactly cruising into the final few holes here. Would you believe we have another disappointed look off the tee, and nobody on the par 3 has found the green. It's been a minute since I've seen that. Backspin, not quite enough to really get it going down the hill. So we get ever closer to the finish line. The gap for EA1 starting to grow. Pak Ji-young looking like bogey is a realistic possibility, which would mean the lead would be 4. Just goes to show how impressive of a round it was for the young superstar as she comfortably sits atop the field here at the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open, our season opener in this 2023 season. 3 hours down and about 45 minutes to go. We'll step aside, be back shortly with more from Lotte Sky Hill. rejoin Kim So-yoon 2 from the sand. Just a short little up towards the pin. Don't think I had penciled her in for a tap in from that line, but she makes it look quite easy.
신하고 그림 사이에 떨어진다는
That putt started left and stayed left all the way through. Not what she needed to see after finding herself firmly entrenched in the hazard. Kim excuse me, hoping her earlier stop up, but from how close she was to the cart path and that particular condition of the rough, it is an average, fairly decent result even. Back to 18, Li Shu-ying. She's not going to be able to get her birdie to finish the day. Bump through the fringe, not what she had in mind. Where the ball stopped is where she wanted it to land, and she would have given herself the chance. And this left to right putt for par just runs out of legs. Of everyone in the group, she was the one probably shouldn't have bogeyed this hole, but didn't fare particularly well. 15. This ultra long par 5. Take some strokes off everybody. Shu Ying. More strokes to drop, but around. But she at times looked like she was going to ascend at least to within 3 of the top of the leaderboard, but she finishes with a 73 in round 2, 142 strokes through 36 holes. Still good for T4, but it is a ways back of EA1. You mean after she had worked so hard to get that gap? She is going to bogey 17, and if she bogeys 18, we will bid her adieu at the end of that hole for this tournament, at least. I can tell the pressure she's feeling. She was wearing it all over her face as she mishit that chip. That's a clutch par. Gives her in a tie for 4th. She only has the 1 bogey on the round still. That was at the 3rd. Very productive day at the office. And bogey confirmed for Park Ji-young. The gap between she and EA1 has returned to 4 strokes. Bogey free in the front 9, 2 bogeys, 2 birdies on the back. And down to the final 3 holes, a par 4, a par 3, and a par 5 to wrap up this second round. 324 meters is the distance. Quite noticeable. Uphill, like towards the right. Especially if you were to play further back from the black tees, way back. It's a little bit straighter from the blocks we are using this week, but definitely in uphill holes. You got that left to right flow to it. Stream off to the right, pockets of trees to the left, and then the perimeter all the way around. That bunker in particular is particularly cumbersome. Two-staged green, each sloping backwards, and the pin at 16 today. Well, it is 13 yards from the back of the green and 8 yards from the right fringe. As I mentioned earlier, it was all pars yesterday on the back nine for Kim Soo-ji. First bogey on the ocean course at the last. Looking to bounce back. She makes a beeline, misses another fairway in regulation. It's downhill, but that grass is super thick, and it keeps her from rolling back into the fairway. Tee shot at 17, the par 3 for Lee So-young. Be about 11 meters off target, stays on the green thanks to the fringe. Chung Hyun-ji. She's been up and down with this +1 and even pattern. She is going to be just about side by side with Kim Soo-ji. No doubt it's cooling off out there. 5 degrees cooler than it was when we began our coverage, at least over 3 hours ago, and the wind has picked up significantly. 4.2 meters per second is what it's averaging right now. Jen's also going to get a kick. I think she's just narrowly going to avoid that rough, but everyone is in a similar line on the left side of the fairway here. Wait for them to reach their balls. Let's head to 18. Jeannie, she's +5, cannot bogey. Doesn't quite have enough on it to get out of the fringe. Gives her 2 strokes to make the cut. Chip and a tap in would be the simplest path forward. It's been a second round especially to forget for Lee So-mi, our champion of 2021. +12 her combined score through 34 holes. Pitches herself back up onto the green. Back to how she had ended the 2023 season. Put together just an absolutely brilliant run. End of October, early November. Winning the SK Network Seoul Economics Ladies Classic. Followed by the 16th S-Oil Championship. That tournament took a 1-hole playoff when she defeated Nahyun. Save some of her best golf for the end of the season. Last year, not only did Jeong win her 2 tournaments, but she was also narrowly defeated in a playoff for the BC Card Hangyeong Ladies Cup. Pak Min-ji at that point had won her 3rd of the season. She is no stranger to this part of the leaderboard up towards the top. She is, at this point in the round, desperate to get through the remaining holes and try to stay as close as possible. But we're at the point where those who do make the cut are going to need EA1 to really have a poor stretch at some point to keep this close. Young, she's at +6. This is a chance to get above the cut line, but not quite enough. She'll finalize her par, and it will be one last shot to get there. Well, not only did Jung Yoon-ji miss the fairway, but she found herself in the bunker. Closer than Park Ji-young, who had just played, but still quite a ways back. Jeannie said a chip and a putt to make the cut. She's going to go, she'll hope, is a putt and a putt. Understanding where she is on the leaderboard. Can't fault her in the slightest for marking and taking her time. Kim Soo-ji. The lie's not great, but the line is just what the doctor ordered. And she is also going to get stuck on the fringe. Well, she's not going to stay there. Rolls back into the fairway. 5 feet away from her group mate's ball. And Isomi, unfortunately, is going down again. To be honest, at first it looked like it was online. She does have her par, and we will see Jeannie tomorrow. Tied for 55th. Was a little bit nerve-wracking, I'm sure, when she went back-to-back with her bogeys midway through the back nine. But does just enough to hang on. Credit where credit is due. It's a decent setup for what should be a par. And a preview for Kim Soo-ji, who will want to land that flop shot about 4 more feet to the right for the near perfect line. Shot at 1,803 meters out for Kim So-yoon 2. That's a great little bounce off the fringe. That's just fine. Hardly any differentiating green and fringe from there. If I had a telestrator, I'd draw where we'd expect her to land. She does take that path, but she's shallow, so that gives it more time to break and actually ends up further back from Park Ji-young. So she's not quite out of the woods yet. Back to 18. Kim Yoon-byul. She have enough carry here. She does not. Get up to the fringe. That case with the caution with the wind. And Chun Yun-ji. Methodically working her way about. Starting to feel a little bit like destiny, that +1 score. I don't know about an immediate break, but it's going to come pretty quick. Started to our left, her right of the hole. So be fairly firm with this. Just enough. It's far from a guarantee. She had to work for that par. This one should be fairly straight, fairly uneventful with how well she has putted for the most part today. Why not a late round surprise? She will, in the end, drop again. We'll have 2 pars and a bogey here at number 16. And that is it for the par 4s today. 2 holes to play. We did get the lesson from Peng Min-ji a couple hours ago that the holes aren't done until they're done. Oh my goodness. A double bogey. Out of nowhere, out of nothing. Takes her back down to even. She's as confused as I am about it. That's uncharacteristic for her standards, unacceptable. So that drastically changes how this leaderboard looks, because suddenly Park Ji-young is all the way down in a tie for 3rd. Chun Ye-sung benefits Park Young-kyung, who has outright 2nd now after her round of 71. And that will be a head scratcher all the way to the 17th tee. She'll make the cut, there's no doubt about that. They should all in this featured group, but certainly makes it a little bit more spicy down in these last 30 minutes or so. War of attrition as much as anything else here at Lotte Sky Hill. Step aside, take our pause, and be back on tee of the par 3 in just a little bit. More groups coming through to wrap up their rounds on 18. It is need to par time for Hung Yumin, and that will go a very long way in ensuring that she should do that. We were just reminded, and by we I mean me, the announcer, that it's never done, the holes are, until they are done. We see number 17 now, the 8th hole of the Ocean Course. Buck 67, no water on this particular hole, but a hole, a fairway leading up to the green. That's basically a crater before that last little climb. See the right third of the green, pretty well a split. Sends the ball right to left towards our pin today, which is 6 yards off the front and 6 yards from the left side of this green. And 17 has not been particularly kind today, at least in terms of the birdie department. Of those in the top 30, only 4 birds all day long, and that includes EA1, who was just steady. She did most of her heavy lifting on the front 9. She built the bulk of her lead yesterday. But this is becoming a increasingly common result. It's an awkward distance, no doubt, 167 meters. You're in between clubs. The wind's kind of simmered down a little bit these last 20 minutes or so, but you're downhill in towards that valley. You got to get up all the way onto the green. It is far from an easy hole to try to attack. Kim Soo-ji was able to put the bogey in the rearview mirror. Her greens in regulation yesterday, not good, to be frank. Only 8 of 18, less than 50%, which is a significant drop from the 78 that she was averaging all season long last year. Will be another miss. It's not a poor miss, but it doesn't inspire confidence in birdies. Back to 18 before Chung Yoon-ji. Putt betwixt the ball markers, and a tap in to end the day. Kim Soo-yoon 2, 3 bogeys on the back 9, another at 3. She heads into the clubhouse. The round of 74 on the day, 146 strokes through 36 holes. It's been a very common result. There are a ton of players at that score, in fact 12 of them. Well, not quite for birdie yet for Park Ji-young, despite what the score bug says. This is, of course, the tee shot, and she is short as well.
짧았는데? 많이 짧았거든요. 볼이 아예 안 보네.
It's interesting because, and again, everybody's different and it depends on the wind and the other conditions, but generally that 167 meters would be at the extreme end of a 4-iron. You'd have to hit it super pure to get all the way there, especially to get about middle of the green and let the gravity be a bit of an assist. Another tap in, and it is a run from 13 through 18, all pars for Kim Min-byae. And narrowly, and I do mean narrowly, Yumin is able to make the cut at +5 with a par at the last. 37 on the way in after going out with a 39. And we would expect, well, we do expect to see her tomorrow inside of that top 62 at the moment. Still 36 holes of golf to be played when everyone has come through and finished the round, but however those scores do end up settling from Park Ji-young and a few of the others still out there, it will be very interesting to see Park Young and EA1 go head-to-head this weekend. I think I would, if you were offering me EA1 or the field, I would be tempted to choose the former because she has hardly put a step wrong this week. But we know the conditions, the pin placements, everything else, and the pressure will only mount, especially as EA1 continues to pursue her first win on the LPGA Tour of Korea. Well, the tee shots here at 17 left a little to be desired. This is Park Ji-young from the fairway on the par 3. Still shortchanges that a little bit. Struggled with the putt. Significantly shorter than that at the last hole. She's going to really need to reset. Go back to 18. Isomi, who has dropped 2 more strokes since we last saw her. 120 meters out on the approach. So comes up shallow. For 6 the last tee shots here at 17. Jung Ji pretty well lands that at the border of the fringe. Rolls inside of about 6 feet. Guyang needs to birdie this hole. Absolute must make, and that type of shot reflects it. A dart towards the flag and a healthy divot to accompany it. Become her most pressure-packed putt of the year so far. I can say that with my chest. And lastly, Kim Soo-ji. The line looks really good here. Make the long 180-degree walk around and just tap it in to finish it off. Mark, re-angle and finish off. In the meantime, back to the fairway at 18. Jung-min, she will not be joining us this weekend. She's had a moment or two of sheer brilliance today, and we can add another tick in that category with a great approach shot there. Taking a little bit extra time than normal, and she's gonna miss another par putt. The momentum and the shot making that she had established about an hour ago, or quite frankly for the first 3 hours we were following this group, she was infallible, but now the putter has gone ice cold. Bogey, double bogey, bogey in the last 3 holes. She has plummeted down this leaderboard. It's about the same distance, just on the opposite side of the hole. Will Jung Yoon-ji follow suit, or will she break this little skid they're on? It is the former. She bogeys as well. It's frustration, but I think it's confusion as well at the moment with these 3. She also 2 bogeys in the last 3 after being completely dialed in for the vast majority of her round. I don't think anyone is feeling particularly confident heading into 18, but one last chance to wipe the slate clean. 490 meter par 5, 13 meters up the hill off the tee shot. From there, 240, 265, the average range of what is to be played for the second. And down the hill from that position as the fairway significantly narrows. You get 90 to 65, leaves you with the wedge. All kinds of bunkers littered down the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. One pot bunker at the back left. We've seen plenty of players the last little while attacking this pin. It is only just on the green. Front right today, 6 and 5 from the front and the right. Kim Soo-ji, by virtue of being the only one not to bogey in the group of the last hole, has the honors of the first drive. Uneventfully into the fairway. Back to 18, Isomi runs it through the fringe. He's gonna get that on a wonderful line down towards the hole. Center right would be ideal to find the fairway here, which is precisely what Jung Yoon-ji has done. Just in behind of Kim Soo-ji. This gives you the best line. You basically pick the nearest bunker, aim for that, knowing you're not going to reach. And it's approach setup time. Okay, this is where the intensity ratchets up. Lee Ga-young needs this to make the cut. Has to have the birdie, and she holes out. It's a long way from the top of the leaderboard, but it is enough to get there. It will be one cut made through the first event of the season, and there were moments wherein it looked like she was going to be on the wrong side of it, but good on her. She plays that 18th hole absolutely perfectly. Gets the job done to climb over the line. Park Ji-young needs a birdie more than anybody else. Really just an unfathomable run of 3. 16 shots for the last 3 holes. It's a very inflated number and an uncharacteristic one at that. Might this be the final shot of the week for Hong Jung-min? Yes, it will. 154 strokes, excuse me, 153 as she picks up that birdie. Finishes the tournament in a tie for 84th position. One of 3 birdies for her on the day. 77 in round 1, 76 today. So me, very unsurprisingly, outside of the top 100 in the event. Can finish with the par. And she does so. Her 82nd shot of the day, 158 for the 2 rounds. 3 double bogeys, though, on the round is certainly not going to inspire much confidence. 5 bogeys on top of those, and the 2 birds on 4 and 6 today. If you've been with us for a while, you might remember me saying how we hadn't seen an ace yet this year. We were going to have the trivia question, who had the first hole-in-one of the 2023 LPGA Tour of Korea season, and literally 5 minutes after I said that, we had our answer. Not sure if we had cameras on it, just by virtue of where it was and when it was on the event, but it was Kim Woo-jung on the first par 3 of the course, over at 4, excuse me, over at 5. Hopefully we had an angle of it and we can show you that shot in the highlights and as soon as this group wraps up here on 18. But there is your answer. We'll make her feel a little bit better about the double and triple bogey she is also carded today. Otherwise she would be up with Park Ji-young here at this 2-under score. Uneventful as it should be through the first 2 shots on this final hole. It's obviously uncharacteristic, but it just speaks to more how in control she was all the way up to that 15th hole. She only had the 1 bogey at 10. Followed it up with a birdie, parred, birdied again, making brilliant putts, attacking the greens confidently, and it just sort of slipped away from her. It's 243 out for Kim Soo-ji. Gorgeous look down towards the clubhouse, and we're showing you the clubhouse in frame. It makes it look a little bit more like it's gone astray. Wasn't exactly headed for the center of the fairway, but at first glance that would have screamed headed for the water, but stays alive down the fairway. While we wait for them to make their way down the fairway, we can look ahead to the forecast tomorrow, and it's going to be very similar. In fact, there's some wind gusts that they're forecasting to reach 11 meters per second. 11 meters per second, some gusts. You certainly hope you are not out on course when those are happening. No rain though scheduled for either tomorrow or Sunday. Slightly higher ceiling, slightly better visibility. But we do have some time to fill, so why not head over to 17? And so Hyun. More than anything, I just want to see if anyone can reach the screen. I'm not going to be on the first one. I mean, you need to absolutely strike your hybrid pure to have a chance to reach. Almost wonder if they put the pin deep enough on the green this weekend, if it will allow to play a bit more aggressive, or you move the tee blocks up. I'd be curious what the GIR numbers are for 17 today. It's taking a little extra second to see if the wind will relent a little bit. See that white flag bending to its right. But the way the green's laid out, there's not a ton of downslope either. Gotta try and go as close to right at it as possible. That'll work out just fine. You can see how drastically she started that to the left, and really that's a putt that might be off the green, but fairly high percentage of holing out from that distance. Well, if there was a tutorial on how to play the third shot here, it would just be a clip of that video on loop. Last approach shot of the day. Kim Soo-ji only 64 meters out. Also gets her backspin. Too much of it, in fact. She will also settle on the fringe. Serves, it was So Young yesterday who had her putt hit the ball marker and ricochet right into the hole. Like we were going to get into the hole there, but it would have definitely kept Kim Soo-ji on the green had she knocked against Chung Yin-ji's ball. So 14 meters still to go. That's the perfect landing spot. Just clearing the fringe, Slowed up to within 4 or 5 feet. Everyone should be putting from here. This group is certainly due for a birdie. Never wanted to make its way back for Kim Soo-ji. Tap in par for a 71, 146 through 36. Tied for 22nd. It was magic early in the round. That is an eagle you see at 4, the double circle over the 3, a birdie at 2. There were no more strokes to be gained. In fact, 2 strokes lost, 7 and 15. She will start the day 11 strokes back of our leader tomorrow. Just because she's putting doesn't mean it's easy. That's not going to come back. Straight as an arrow. Bit of a surprising one. Looking for a silver lining. It's not a bogey. The streak's finally over. But yes, it is obvious to see where things sort of fell apart on the day for Park Ji-young. Ends with a 73. Almost an identical round to Lee Shu-ying, who also went 69-73. So Hyun, yep, catches enough, slow enough that it will go and fall in for the par. 2 birdies for her today, +9. It'll be her final hole of the week coming up next. And ending the day inside of the top 20. Great approach shot, and she finishes the business from there. Tied for 17, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 birdies on the day, 3 bogeys. That officially concludes the second round of our featured group. Get you the second round highlights momentarily as they make their way off the course. And we will paint a picture of the leaderboard as we near the midway mark of this tournament. We will begin on 4. At this point, we had 2 players jockeying for position. And this was very, very early days. EA1, after a double bogey, which was pretty well the only real slip up on the day for her, responded with a birdie. Young, she teed off on 10. That was her effort at number 6, the first of 2 back-to-back birdies in the tail end of her round. See the asterisk beside both of their names at the top of the leaderboard there. At that point for A1, her 5th birdie of the day. Kind of scary to think without those, or that bogey, excuse me, and that double bogey, she would be at -12. That is how well she struck the ball today. This was the approach shot on the par 4 5th. Look at this. Looks like it's carrying all kinds of speed. But the backspin slows it up just in time, and this is when things were absolutely soaring. Park Ji-young, just the weight control, brilliant read, brilliant line, and her first birdie of the day coming at number 4. 9 would be next. We would see the wind play a factor here. It's almost like it just needed that little extra pull. just an absolutely remarkable day at the office. No complaints to be had for EA1 on the day. 70, not quite as low as she had gone in round 1, but more than enough to build a comfortable lead. And then it was sort of the Li Shuying show for a while. Bounce and a skitter, rolling to a stop. Right online from there. So a birdie 10 and a birdie 12. Fortunately for her sake, those would be her last birdies of the day. And just as she tapered off, she had a group mate following in her footsteps. That would be Kim Biel. Birdied that at 12, parred the rest of the way through. She'd finished T4 on to 14. It had been quite some time since we had seen a bird from Pak Jiang. Especially on the par 3. Not that she's played them poorly, but she hadn't found the success in the round. Finally would get one at 14, and then the wheels would promptly fall off from there, where she would go bogey, double bogey, and bogey, dropping 4 strokes from outright second down to a tie for 4th. That does wonders for the round of Pak Young. Didn't have to do much today, just a 71, and she is right there in the thick of things. And as she will be grouped together with the A1, she'll be hoping to put the pressure on a 70 for the sophomore, who puts up 135 through 2 rounds. And as I mentioned earlier, -9 was the score that won this event last season in 2022. Lynn Grant, the Swede, she goes with a 75 today to finish in a tie for 22nd. See some other familiar faces, some familiar names like Nahi 1 at that score as well. Further down we go, Chung Soo Gi, Cheng In-soo, and Lee Se-hee, Pak Dan-yu, all at +3, including Bung Min-ji, who had a bit of a stumble to finish the round as well on 18. A 75 for her. Speaking of sophomores, Mata Som, she was the runner-up in the rookie race last year. She was in with a 75 today. Then we get into just that final contingent of players inside of the top 50, like Ko Chi-yu and Lee Ju-mi. And then this is where things got a little bit tense, and it will remain tense for Kwon So-yeon on her final hole, where she needs to par to make that cut at +5. At the moment, we are expecting to see 62 players in the race this weekend, though Chaebon and a couple of others just that 1 stroke behind with a few holes to play in their round. So, leaderboard is close to finalized, but not quite there. We will have, of course, everything settled, the groups unveiled, and right back to it. Our first moving day of the season. Exciting times tomorrow. Hope you will join us for that 3rd round on Saturday. But for now, this is the end of the road for us on this Friday evening. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We thank you for your viewership. On behalf of our SBS Golf and Spot crews, I've been Adam Jenkins saying so long, and we look forward to welcoming you back tomorrow to the Lotte Sky Hill Country Club here on Jeju, our opener for 2023, the Lotte Rent-A-Car Ladies Open. We will see you tomorrow.